Hi, Klahani students. This is your friend downstairs, Mr. Gibbs. I'm here today to give you a little debrief of yesterday's reading and notes, and we're going to take some notes together in class, so I've made a video for you to follow along with. Your job is to have your IMB open. You should have your in completed already. This is for Wednesday the 23rd, and we're going to go ahead and take notes on the other side in our through section today, all about John Locke, his basic rights that we sometimes call natural rights. We'll talk about a state of nature, and finally a social contract. So this really should be a way for you to clarify your notes. Yesterday I gave you a pretest to have you think about what a state of nature is, why the Declaration of Independence was written, and all of those questions. Today's note should help you come to a conclusion about why we have government according to John Locke. And this is really important because the people that made our government, our founding fathers, including Thomas Jefferson, studied John Locke the most, and they really used a lot of his ideas about natural rights and government when they wrote the Declaration of Independence. We're studying the Declaration of Independence in this little mini unit, and so it's really, really important that you understand this part about John Locke. Okay? So what I'm going to have you do is you're going to take your INB, and you are going to flip it so that your through section is kind of turned on its side. And I know we don't normally take notes like this, but we will today. Okay? And for today, I need you to start with this idea of a state of nature. Okay? And with the state of nature, John Locke is asking, what would the world be like if there weren't any laws and there wasn't any government? That's basically what he's talking about. Okay, so you're thinking about what are people like with no laws and no government. Okay, John Locke says, according to him in his book, that people are mostly good, okay, and they do the right thing. Now, I'm going to give you a moment to write this down. Once again, my visual is people right here, and then I just wrote with no laws and no government. According to Locke, most people are good, which means that they do the right thing. They're concerned about the people around them, their neighbors. They want to help them out. Okay, but Locke adds something. He says, the problem is some people aren't so good. They're self-interested. Okay, so I wrote do two more people over here, and I said simply, some people aren't so good and they are self-interested. Right? So take a minute to write that down. Once again, because some people aren't good doesn't mean that they're like a serial killer or they do terrible, terrible things. The big thing that probably you recognize and I recognize and John Locke recognized is that people think about themselves. And some people think about themselves so much that it becomes a problem. Okay? So going on, John Locke says, you know what? When there's a couple people thinking about themselves too much, we have a problem. So the next thing that I wrote over here is a problem. Okay, and he says that the problem really is that in a state of nature, everyone has some basic wants. Okay, and the three things that everyone wants in a state of nature are life, liberty, and property. Okay, life, liberty, and property. So I'll give you a moment. I just drew everyone like that. Okay, and then I said that everyone wants. Okay. In a world of no laws and no government, we would still have three basic wants, according to John Locke. The first one is life. Okay. The second one is liberty. And the third one is property. Now let me explain those. It's pretty simple. John Locke says, basically what life means is, don't kill me. You have the right to live. Liberty is the next word. Okay. We use the word freedom a lot more, but they mean the same thing. Okay. Freedom means let me make my own choices. Okay. And then finally, everyone wants property, the ability to own things. That might be materials, that might be clothing, possessions. Okay. They want the ability to own stuff. Most of the time when we think of property, we think of land, because that's what people, especially back then, really valued the most, and we still kind of do. Okay. But it could be just anything. Okay. Life, liberty, property. You want the ability to own things, don't get killed, and make your own decisions. Okay, you know what? If you think about it in your own life, that seems like a pretty good list. Okay. Here is the problem. Imagine that you are a weak person. Okay, and you're not weak because maybe you're not physically strong, but you know what? You just don't maybe own property. You were not born into a very wealthy family. Okay, you don't have the freedom to make a lot of choices in your life. You just happen to be weak. Okay, but you have your natural rights. You have life, liberty, property. Okay. According to John Locke, here's the big problem. If you have some people that are self-interested, that happen to be strong as well. And what he means by strong is people that kind of have status in society, maybe like a king or a monarch or a noble. Okay? They own a lot of property. They get to make a lot of freedom for themselves. They get to kind of dictate other people's freedom. We consider them strong. If they're also self-interested, they are going to take away your natural rights. You won't have them anymore. They'll take away your liberty. They'll take away your property. They might even kill you, and you can't do anything about it. This is a big problem, okay, and one that John Locke was really concerned about. Okay, so in a state of nature where the world isn't necessarily perfect, but there are no laws and no government, you would have 3 basic rights, and then if some people are self-interested, they might take them away from you. Okay, now John Locke thought about this forever, and he finally said, you know what, there's got to be a solution. So he came up with one, and we're going to go to the final part to figure this out. Here's what John Locke says is a solution. Kind of the light bulb moment. That's a terrible light bulb, but I hope you get the point. You have your strong person over here, and they've got your rights. You only have one option if you're a weak person, or like I said, you don't have a lot of property or whatever it is. You have to join together with other weak people. That's how you get your rights back. That's how you don't get killed. That's how you have freedom. And that's how you get your property, the ability to own things. You have to join together. You have to come together as a group to overpower the strong person. So you join together, okay? And when you do, or when anyone does, John Locke says that 2 things happen. The first, we get laws. The second, we get government. This is where government comes from. This is why we have it. Okay? So let's define what John Locke basically means by laws. Here's what he says. Let me zoom in so you can see this. Why do we have laws? To protect your natural rights. Or your basic rights, whatever you want to call them. Why do we have government? Well, if you have a group of people that need to make a decision, not everyone can be involved in every decision of the world. So John Locke says, you're going to have to nominate some people. Some people are going to have to volunteer. Whatever it is, some people are going to have to be given power by the others. Not because they're stronger, but because those people gave their approval to give them power. They're going to give their consent. Let me give you an example. At Sequoia Middle School, we have the Associated Student Body. Okay? And you have a president, vice president, treasurer. Those people were elected by you. If you remember back last spring, they were elected. Okay? When you elected them, when you voted for them, what you were really doing is giving them consent to either govern or make decisions for you. And they do things all the time for you. Like decide your budget, decide how money's going to be spent. They do this all the time. Okay? You have formed a social contract with them. And that's what John Locke was talking about. Okay? So I leave you with that today. Okay? You can go back through this video and look at my notes again, but I just want to give you a brief overview of the reading from yesterday. You should have these notes as well. This will be on a future assessment that you need to prepare for, and it will get us ready for the Declaration of Independence. Have a great day. Talk to you all soon.